Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast presented by Under Armour. I am your host, Joe Kuzma. I have been sick and cold, among other things, just as my co-host Brian Roach has. So we apologize for our absenteeism. But Brian, you getting any warmer or any better over there yourself?
I'm hoping to get warmer today, but right now the lovely state of South Jersey is covered in ice.
Oh, man, I know. It's the same thing here, northeast Ohio, just on the edge of the western Pennsylvania state line where I'm at. I could literally spit and touch Pennsylvania. Not that I want to spit on the state of Pennsylvania, but before we get into things, one of our other business partners and sponsors, whatever you want to call it, great working relationship with Total Sports Enterprises, and also known as TSE when we mention them on the air here or social media or on the website whenever we hand out a game ball every week on SteelCityUnderground.com. They have another event coming up this weekend on Saturday ahead of the Steelers' big divisional round playoff game, featuring three big names, one of which they haven't had yet. So Juju Smith-Schuster returns once again to TSC to sign some autographs on Saturday at the mall at Robinson. For those of you who are out-of-towners, maybe you're coming to Pittsburgh for the first time or just unfamiliar with the area, a short drive from the airport, just south, maybe 5-10 minutes from the airport, just outside of Pittsburgh, so you're not really out of your way. Also joining Juju will be slot corner Mike Hilton, who actually got a vote for All-Pro, which surprised me, probably surprised you too, Brian.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And a big name, big name, big, huge. I love saying
huge.
I love saying that. Between Donald Trump and Arnold Schwarzenegger, I love huge. It's such a great word, but I don't want to do the Arnold impression today because I'm still nasally, and let's face it wasn't that good anyways. But big name, Joe Hayden. So I know a lot of people are excited about that. I know he's excited to be a Steeler. He finally gets to play in the playoffs, and that's kind of what shook out this past weekend, a bunch of unwatchable games. But we're going to talk about those ahead of now knowing who the Steelers are going to face on Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m.
Yeah, I'm disappointed because it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get out to that TSC signing, and I really want to go because I think it'll be interesting to see the kind of reception and fun that Joe Hayden's going to have with members of the nation, and the fact that the next day they're going to play in a playoff game, his first ever playoff game. I think that's going to be an exciting time. So I really wish I could get out there, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen dash at all. But you said these games were unwatchable. And I mentioned that really of the four games, the only one that I felt like was worth the time and effort spent watching it was the Saints and the Panthers. The rest of them were dross, dreck, miserable. And of course, as we get into it, one of the primary themes that will underlie all of this is my favorite hashtag, the refs stink.
Oh my goodness. It's start. You got Jeff Triplett. I think he did the Titans-Chiefs game. And Tony Corrente. Now I'm trying to think which game Tony got. I could look this up real quick, but anyway, the point being, Jeff Triplett hadn't done a playoff game in over 5 years, and I guess this was a retirement going away party. That's clearly where his mind was. Tony Corrente, you may remember, folks, from the Steelers-Patriots Jesse Cauditt debacle. And his officiating crew, 3 of the 4 most penalized games of the year. Now, you only get this assignment in the playoffs if you're an all-star referee, as they say. In fact, they don't even use the same crews, which just blows my mind. I mean, if you're in the NFL and you have a small pool of referees, everybody should know each other and should be able to work with one another. And it's not that they keep the crews the same year to year anyway. Some of it stays, some of it doesn't. But that familiarity, just if you don't like one guy or the other guy, or you don't trust somebody, or miscommunication. Speaking of miscommunication, geez, you start immediately with the Titans and Chiefs, and I know Terry's going to be back on this with the WTF, so I don't want to touch too much on John Gruden being the color commentator when he's the next Oakland Raiders or Las Vegas Raiders coach soon to be. And there was some controversy over that in and of itself. But yeah, Terry and I are going to get back together on this because there's been a demand for Terry, Brian. You're going to be replaced.
Oh, well, I understand. I know what my place is.
But the point I was getting at here was that not only the referees but the announcers had no idea what they were talking about in these games. You had Gruden, and I'm trying to think who it was that was with him. Maybe it was Sean McDonough. I don't remember which guy it was. Mike Tirico. I don't want to label the wrong person, but neither one of them understood a few things in this game. Number one, they said it was the largest comeback from behind, like in playoff history, and I'm like, wait a minute, we just had a Super Bowl that went to overtime. The 28-3 memes that are everywhere, like how could that, you know what I mean? If you forget the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Oilers from like the 90s and Frank Reich and that whole situation, fine, so be it. That's out of your memory. But I mean, I'm a much younger guy than these guys, and I was appalled that they didn't remember that. And then with the actual officiating, there were several things in that game. There was it looked like there was a clear, fumble recovery in that game, or a clear fumble in that game. I think it would have benefited Kansas City. And the replay official never initiated replay because they thought the call on the field was that they had recovered a fumble, and the referees had actually called someone down. And it's like, that's the whole point of replay. Stop the game and get it right. That's what you're there for. It's not like you're watching 8 or 10 games going on at the same time on Sunday. There's literally one game going on.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I think there comes a point in time where if I'm a ref, I'm going to stop wanting replay to come in and get it right. And you know, because of the controversies with how replay has overturned calls that it shouldn't have this year, it won't surprise me if at some certain point the refs on the field say, you know what? I'm not going to wait till this goes up to replay. I'm just going to make a darn call. And if they don't get it right, they don't get it right, because it's got to be frustrating as a ref to think you've made the right call, and then it gets overturned and everyone in the universe still thinks you made the right call, except for Al Riveron.
You know what it is, and having been in that situation, sometimes it's a game of angles, depending on where you're looking at something and how you're looking at something, the speed of play, so many things, your distance from it, you know what I mean? Your vantage point, obviously, is what this all determines. And I've been in situations similarly where I thought maybe the other guy didn't get it right, or he thought I got it wrong. And something, you know, you get past that because you're the third team on the field, you're the law, you're enforcing the rules, and you're not supposed to have any bias. There's some bias that comes in. I'm sure there's players that are jerks, and guys think that guy's a jerk or that guy's a repeat offender. And it's human nature for these things to creep into your decision making. But overall, the referees themselves, I don't think, unless they're Dunleavy or whatever his name was with the NBA, and they were doing point shaving and fixing games, and it's happened in, oh my God, it's happened in soccer all over, like Europe, with guys that are gambling and fixing games that are referees. But aside from that, quote, vested interest in the game, these guys don't care who wins or loses. They're just trying to do what they feel is right by letter of the law. And that's what really drove me nuts in this game too, because let me see, Travis Kelce got rocked with a helmet-to-helmet hit. I don't like Travis Kelce. I think he could be a jerk, but he's certainly a talented player, and that certainly hurt Kansas City, and it certainly hurt Travis Kelce, and there was no flag on it. We've seen Steelers players get flagged for much less, and that just, I was appalled by that. It just seemed ridiculous that they could miss that. And then there was like this whole other series with Derrick Henry where he's clearly down, and we were trying to figure out if there was actually a whistle blown or if it was just crowd noise. But the referees, if there was a whistle blown, they allowed, I can't remember who it was from the Chiefs. So I told you, I was congested all weekend, man. Yeah. I'm watching this game, and a guy picks up the ball. It's clearly that Derrick Henry's down, and he runs it down like 40, 50 yards down the field for a touchdown. Everybody's going crazy at Arrowhead Stadium thinking that they have just pulled ahead. Their defense has bailed the Andy Reid out of choking in the playoffs again. And it's just like, no, this is ridiculous. What if somebody gets hit during all of this, like Ben Roethlisberger did with the Miami Dolphins last season, where he was hit on a turnover play, and somebody could get hurt? Blow the whistle. Don't swallow the whistle.
Oh, yeah, I just don't even know how to talk about the refs anymore. It has gotten to the point where it is distracting from the game. And I wrote that piece about the image problem with the NFL based on the problems with officiating, and it really became at a certain point in each one of those games up until the Saints and the Panthers, and even in that game there was officiating issues, but where at some point in the game you just wanted to go, well, I can't watch this anymore. I got to turn this off because otherwise my head will explode from the way this is being handled. Just absolutely insane. And you look at how the calls went and the way that the team that they benefited, and the conspiracy theorist in all of us says, well, if I'm in New England, who would I rather play, the Titans or the Chiefs? Well, the Chiefs whooped our booties early in the season. I like the Titans. Let's play them. And then they give a call down to the officiating crew. Just make sure the Titans win that game, would you? Thank you very much. I'm not saying that happens, of course, but the narrative this season has certainly felt like anything that benefits the Patriots is okay, and if it doesn't, it's a penalty or it's overturned.
Yeah, we're going to get to that one in the other AFC game here in a second. But seeing the Titans win, I think a lot of people were thinking, oh, let's send the Titans over to Pittsburgh. Let's root for the Buffalo Bills. And that was a painful game to watch, too. But just the other two officials in these games, the Buffalo-Jacksonville game was John Hussey, and Ed Hockley drew, let's see, which one was Ed on? The Falcons and the Rams. So the good news is all these guys should, with only 4 games this upcoming weekend, be out of this pool or this selection. There's 7 games left for the season. I don't think most get a second assignment unless maybe Ed Hockley gets to do the AFC Championship game or something of that nature, or he's already been selected for the Super Bowl. I think these guys are out of the running at least. So no Jeff Triplett, no Tony Corrente, no Ed Hockley this weekend. That could be a good or a bad thing, too, when you see some of the guys. You have both Waltz that are out there that had disastrous games with the Steelers earlier in the year during, the Baltimore Ravens and the Bengals. And it was just like week after week. The one thing about being a referee, there's like this code that's almost like a brotherhood type code amongst all referees, that you don't talk bad about other referees, but it's become so difficult to not say something about officiating in the NFL because these are major game-changing decisions. Now, the Titans come from behind. Andy Reid, what is it? The Chiefs have not won a playoff game at Arrowhead since 1994, and I remembered that game because that was Joe Montana, and they played the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's back when they had Neil O'Donnell and Eric Green, and I believe Darren Perry or Deion Figures. Maybe it was Deion Figures got ejected from the game with a fight, and I mean, wow, that was going way back for me, and I said, geez, I'm like, they haven't won at home that and that long, so the myth that Arrowhead is a tough place to go and play now is starting to become it's becoming a myth.
Absolutely. I think I was saying to somebody the other day, we were talking about this game, and I said, Andy Reid is a great seasoned coach. But what I think they need to do is have an assistant coach who becomes the de facto head coach during the playoffs. Because once the playoffs come around, good coach Andy turns into bad coach Andy. And they just need somebody else running the wheels once the playoff starts. He is, it's part of why he's not in Philly anymore. And that trend has continued over. Great, decent. I don't even want to say great, but a solid, season gets them to the playoffs, and then that's it.
You got people who say the same thing about Mike Tomlin, which is ridiculous, by the way, and he seems to win no matter what he's got to work with. Not win them all, but at least he's been to a couple of Super Bowls and has won one. Bill Cowher had similar struggles, so Andy is on the cusp of being a great coach. I just don't think he's there yet. Titans come from behind and win this game. They go to New England. Now, we'll be talking about this in an upcoming show, but just the short answer, do you think the Titans have any chance against the Patriots at Foxborough?
I'm going to say this. My initial gut instinct was, no, the Titans are going to get mauled. But Derrick Henry looked pretty darn good. And if the Patriots have a area of susceptibility, it might be that a team like the Titans, if they do nothing but run option plays all day long and keep Mariota mobile and keep Henry running the ball, it's going to be a different kind of game than I think the Patriots are expecting or have played. And they've got, I don't want to say a good chance, but there is a minuscule chance that they can pull off yet another upset. The weak point for me, though, is their defense, which played better over the last couple games, but is a mediocre middle of the field kind of defense. They're not a top defense, and I don't see them really keeping the Patriots under wraps. But, go ahead and pound Tom Brady's Achilles tendon a little bit during the week, and I'll be happy.
Are you trying to say a Dick LeBeau defense is going to struggle with Tom Brady? Say it ain't so.
Yeah. I might be saying that. Yes, I might.
Well, at least enough on this game. I mean, there really isn't a whole lot to say about the Falcons and Rams other than I have no idea what the Rams were doing. There was, and it was the typical L.A. Hollywood scene. Hey, we got all of these celebrities out in force, including Snoop Dogg posing with the Rams coat on. He even took a picture with Lynn Swann. I didn't see Lynn Swann wearing any LA stuff. So
yeah,
it's just that's probably one of the more ridiculous things that come out of that, other than Robert Kraft and Roger Goodell sitting there in the nice, sweet loge, whatever club section in that end zone where all the celebrities in that were too. I'm talking, perception being, whatever tenths of the law or whatever. Man, that perception does not look good based on what you were just saying earlier. The whole Buffalo Wild Wings thing and giving it to the Patriots. So, but the Falcons, they go on the road. I think we didn't pick. Let me see. We didn't pick the Titans to win, obviously.
No.
I had the Falcons. Both road teams win on the first day. The Rams forget who Todd Gurley is, and the Falcons win that game 26-13, as I thought they would with the better quarterback.
Yeah, when we talked the other day, I had said that, even though I may have picked the Rams in the pick'em, I actually kind of thought the Falcons might win, which is what we talked about in the last podcast. And it wasn't a tremendous surprise that that's what happened. It's a nice season for a young coach, but, when you get into the playoffs, experience generally trumps not experienced. And so having Matt Ryan, who went to a Super Bowl, has been in the playoffs, it just made a lot more sense. And especially since the Rams, as you said, they forgot who Todd Gurley was. They went away from what they were. And the fact that they have a bad home record all kind of led to this, potential upset. This was not a surprising outcome.
Yeah, even with the celebrities, they packed the place at least. It felt like a home game. It was kind of cool seeing, the old Coliseum all done up and the torch. And I'm sure it felt good for, even as much as you dislike Goodell. He wanted teams in L.A. He wanted that market back. And the NFL had to consider that a win, that the Rams turned it around and got a postseason game in the city. That's got to be pretty big for them overall. Heading to Sunday's games, let's jump to the NFC 1 since that's really the least of our concerns right now. But once again, I went with the Saints, the better quarterback coach combo. Like I said, that'll be my picks probably again the upcoming week when we bring this up. Saints hold on 31-26. Poor Cam Newton, man. The guy gets rocked around. He's the only guy that probably – he reminds me of a young Ben Roethlisberger where Ben was getting, killed out there on the field all the time. Doesn't necessarily get the same kind of flags that, a Tom Brady or Drew Brees or one of these other guys would get. But we pretty much felt that the Saints at home, that was going to be tough for the Panthers to overcome.
Yeah, and it's the way that game played out where the Saints, kind of got ahead early, I think they were up, 21-9. They just outpaced the Panthers early on. The Panthers took a while to get going, and then they tried to storm back at the end. I think the bottom line was it was just too little, too late. But at least this game had some drama. At least this game, for the most part, minus one interception that I don't believe was an interception, was devoid of incredibly bad refereeing. So it was an entertaining game. Of the three, it was the only one I truly actually enjoyed spending any time watching.
Yeah, and that was the thing, too, with some of the officiating calls, at least. When you're dealing with a 22-21 Titans-Chiefs game, a call can really make all the difference. But the Falcons win by 13 points. You have the Saints hold on by 5, but really they were in cruise control for most of this. So you can't blame an officiating call on the outcome. At least it doesn't affect the outcome of the game. Whereas you can make maybe an argument with the Bills and Jaguars that Jalen Ramsey picking off. Now, Tyrod Taylor gets injured. Nate Peterman, rookie quarterback, 5th-round pick, formerly from Pitt, comes in. He was an interception machine during the regular season, threw 5 picks against Los Angeles, the Chargers, in one half of football. So you have him come in near the end of this game, probably about a minute left or so. He scrambles, he gets first down, completes like a pass. Looks like this kid could get it done. You have Jalen Ramsey jump. I don't even want to say he jumped the route. He basically just jumped in front of, it may have been Kelvin Benjamin. I'm trying to remember who it was, the receiver. And the receiver just stood there. Jalen Ramsey kind of hits this ball up in the air and then kind of goes to catch it, bobbles it, comes down to the ground, rolls over, and then it just runs all over the field like a madman of celebrating. I don't really have a problem with that, to be completely honest. And his home crowd loved it. But the problem with it is that they went to replay. It took them all of 10 seconds to say it was a catch. It looked worse than the Jesse James no-catch deal against the New England Patriots. I was irate that the replay center just, once again, what are you watching? You're supposed to have up as many as 3 people controlling this place, this replay deal, and you did it that fast. It's not like the Jesse James one. How many games are going on? That was an afternoon game. It took them 5 minutes to come to a decision here and make up something to say it wasn't a touchdown. Here you have a turnover, which is by rule, just like a touchdown or called on the field touchdown, must be reviewed. And Jalen Ramsey catches the ball and falling to the ground. And like I said, surviving the ground is a term, but it's not an actual part of the rule book. The word does not, but it's meant to describe what those rules pertain to. So he's got to survive the ground. And from what I could tell, if one is a catch, if Ramsey's is an interception, then Jesse James has to be a touchdown, or the other way. You can't have both, where one is a catch and one isn't.
Yeah, that's the flaw in all of this is you're expecting logic to be something that takes place, and that was proved by the Cooks catch against the Texans versus the James catch. If one's a catch, then both are a catch, and that doesn't hold true there. Again, the underlying benefit here seems to be which outcome is going to be the one that they want. And nobody wanted the Bills and the Patriots. I don't even think the Patriots wanted the Bills and the Patriots. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. And everybody wanted Jacksonville and the Steelers as a game. So that's what they got. I mean, this game, barring even that, this was an unwatchable game. How bad was the quarterback play for both these teams in this game? A 10-3 playoff games. Blake Bortles, 75.8 quarterback rating. Tyrod Taylor, 44.2. Between the two of them, they managed 29 completions, and a touchdown and an interception. It was brutal. to watch this game.
29 completions between both of them for something that looks like about 251 yards or something of that nature that let me see. Math. 251, a touchdown, a pick, and 60 attempts. That looks like something that would be good if it was one guy doing that, maybe.
Yeah.
But maybe not the completions. Oh, my goodness. 17 of 37. And then you have Bortles running for 88 yards and only passing for 87, which was also just gross. Blake Bortles didn't look like he could hit the red side of a barn. Tyrod Taylor, oh my goodness. Some of it I think was his receivers and some of it was just him. It was miserable to watch. And we're going to have a lot to talk about with Jacksonville in an upcoming show here to preview the Steelers' next game. But the Steelers, they kind of got their wish with a rematch at Heinz Field. And the Steelers have only lost one game since that Week 5 encounter. And, of course, we're talking about the controversial Jesse James no touchdown where New England ends up winning at Heinz Field. Otherwise, the Steelers would have been undefeated, barring a controversial call, since Ben had the 2 pick sixes and the 5 interceptions total in the game. I look at what the Buffalo Bills did here. They could only muster 3 points, but at the same time, the Jaguars could only get 10. They were playing at home in front of a home crowd. I mean, I'm gonna have more to say, but just based on this game was it was almost impossible to watch. It was so bad. I think I even saw Eric Herman, one of our guys, tweet or retweet someone else that asked if it was a preseason game.
Yeah, it was that bad. And look, Jacksonville has not played well the past few weeks. They get beat up by San Francisco. Admittedly, they managed to at least score 33 points in that game. But then they only managed 10 points against Tennessee and then 3 last week against the Bills. You know, it is just, I mean, Blake Bortles is being Blake Bortles, a return to form, so to speak, for him. You know, it's just amazing to watch teams that bad in the playoffs and play that poorly. You can give some credit to the opposing defenses. Jacksonville does have a very good defense, and I don't want to take anything away from that group. They have a solid defense, and the Bills' defense was supposed to be better than it looked, and they played well. But it's more, it felt like a lot of that game was just such bad quarterbacking that was the real culprit of the score, as opposed to the defenses really outplaying either side.
Yeah, that's where I stand too. And like I said, there'll be more to say in some of the previews with this. So I know Jacksonville kind of worried you. I don't know that I'm super concerned about it. We'll give all of our reasons why on the next episode that myself and Brian get on for the preview of the upcoming weekend's games, including a rematch with the Steelers and those aforementioned Jaguars. But no more Bills Mafia breaking tables and anything crazy like that. That's what they probably didn't want in New England, so that's why the Ramsey call is a catch and the Jesse James one is not, because why have the AFC Championship game at Heinz Field? But there's still hope. Maybe the Titans could pull it out, and we're going to talk about that later. So, Brian, once again, thanks for being around, bud.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure, and I'm glad that next week we will have and later this week we'll have a Steelers game to talk about.
Yeah, it's about time. I mean, it's really tough to talk about everyone else's games because I think everyone else sucks. So, with that said, enjoy yourself, folks. Try and stay warm, unless you're Terry, who's freezing at 60 degrees in Southern California. She thinks that's cold. We're all at sub-zero weather, snow, and ice, so be careful out there. Be safe, be good. We'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.